Bluebaum is German number 3, and Shankland is a top American GM, part of the Olympiad winning team. For the USA, d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, and we get this already. So a peculiar move from white. This early pawn move, well, what does it do? It attacks the bishop, and after this, knight e5. So Bluebaum is moving his knight again, but he has a clear plan. He wants to take the bishop. Shankland retreats the knight this way, which is very strange. Normally you would expect to move this knight and then maybe take. But he decided to move this knight. After take, maybe Shankland is going for e5, but no. After bishop g2, e6, this is the point. When your opponent has a light squared bishop, you want to be putting lots of your pawns on light squares to blunt the bishop, to reduce its power. Knight d2, f5. Here we have it. White is now going to find it very difficult to free his position. So he goes for this pawn break, c4. You don't want to take, but because now you wake up this bishop. That's why Shankland keeps it solid. c4, knight f6, g5, knight e4. So really cool transformation. You got your pawn on f5 and d5, and now you've just brought your knight back to f6, and then in the center, take. With a structure like this, it really is blunting this bishop. So a very successful opening for black so far. h4, got to defend your pawn because the queen was planning to take it. Now black strikes in the center with c5. Planning to break the center. Also the knight can come here, and the queen also puts pressure on that pawn. Take, knight c6. Black is saying, well, I can get my pawn back anytime. Bishop takes. Pawn, if the queens come off, then black is ready to take back with the rook. a3, take, b4, bishop retreats. So neither side really wants to trade queens, which is good for me because it makes the game even more interesting. The queen goes to b3 and the king goes to f sending. c5, bishop e5. It's the perfect bishop controlling both sides of the board. Rook a2, rook takes h4. Shankland now sacrifices the exchange. Really cool way to crash through, because after take, queen takes g5, the queen attacks both the rook and the bishop. White doesn't even defend either piece because black is going to spend time taking one of them. He attacks the knight instead, but now knight a5, knight attacks queen. In the meantime, the queen still attacks the rook and the bishop. I was thinking, instead of b5, if Bluebaum saved his rook, then queen takes, and after rook f1, maybe the bishop can come back to f6. Then the knight can come to e5, and it's just so dangerous. The rook can come here, really cutting off the king. So after this, queen takes g5, b5, knight a5, queen there, and then queen takes bishop. Bishop d2, not taking the knight, even though white is attacking it, because after check, you're going to come in and take the bishop. Check, take. And black has so many threats. The queen can come back to c4 to win the rook. The queen can't actually come in because the bishop is perfectly placed in the center. After check, if you go king d2, that's worse because queen f2 check, and you actually pick up the rook instead. Bishop d2, g5. Really cool move. Just putting a direct question to the rook. In fact, it is running out of good squares. Only h5 and h7 are squares for the rook. Rook h7, king g6. The king is now an attacker. The rook has run out of squares. Queen takes knight, king takes rook. Black has got his material back with a winning position because the king is just in the middle. Queen g1 check coming soon. Rook in the game soon. King runs away, take the pawn. c6, b6, shutting out the queen. This pawn isn't going anywhere. Black has just too many threats with the queen. Even this can march. This bishop is just a perfect bishop throughout the game. Queen f1 check. Bishop blocks. Bishop g3. c7, and you just come back and take the pawn. The c7 move was just a distraction, but after taking, black still has so many threats. The rook can go to d8 with check. The bishop can come back to g3 to put pressure here. Also, black, there's just so many pawns up. Look at all these pawns. By the way, the rook can't swing over to h2 because this bishop actually guards that square. If you play rook f2, let's say if the game continue attacking the queen, let's throw in a check, and then the queen can come back. And look at this. The queen can take this pawn. The queen can come here. The bishop can come here, and it's going to be checkmate very soon. So that's how Shankland won against Bluebaum. Really cool victory.